Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, Bucko fans, to another episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with co-host Jay Dash and JK47. We're going to talk some Pirate baseball today, namely Pedro Alvarez and how he is the worst first baseman in the MLB, according to me.
That's a horrible way to... Yeah, according to you. All right, now we're starting. Look, everyone seems to be fed up with Pedro Alvarez. I'm talking radio personalities mostly. And who'd you say wrote an article or something saying they just need to move on?
There was a statistician that came on the Mark Madden show the other day when Dejan Kovacevic was the guest host. And he was talking with Dejan. And Pedro has cost the Buccos 11 runs and approximately 4 to 6 wins this year with his poor play at first base.
I disagree with that. I wouldn't.
I mean, those are stats. Those are numbers that all these weird baseball geeks have started to make up over the last 15 years.
I still don't believe it because he only has... Well, he has 10 errors. That's the most by any first baseman. I don't believe that turned into 11 runs somehow, though. Especially when you consider the one game they threw a ball to first base and it broke the web in his glove. And those runners did score. Now, is that directly on Pedro? That's not really his fault that the ball went through the webbing of his glove. I mean, the glove broke. That just happens sometimes. And then the next play, they tried to pick the runner off at first base, and he actually missed it with a new glove. Now, that is on him, but I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass on that, at least, coming in with a new glove and not even...
He's a baseball player. He should be able to go out there with some duct tape on his hand.
Well, listen, you got to remember, he's a third base. He hasn't even played 75 career games at first base yet.
Well, yeah, you don't have to play first base to know how to catch the ball when somebody throws it to you.
Well, listen, he hasn't used a first base glove outside of 75 games in his entire life. So, I mean, you can at least give him a pass on it. And then, remember the other day when he had that line drive directly to him and that was in there?
Completely missed it.
Well, listen, that was actually the second time that happened to him. Now, this is the type of things you got to expect out of a guy that's just moved over to first base. You got to remember, he played on third base, and when it's hit down the line on third base, you're reaching across your body to make a catch, and when you're at first base, you're bringing it back the other way, and it's going to hit the heel of your glove. Now, that's something he's going to have to learn as he gets more accustomed to first base. So there's 4 errors right there that, while 2 of them, at least one of them, I'm going to say is not his fault. 2 of them are something that you're going to have to learn. You have to expect these type of errors early out of your first baseman. And the other one on the pickoff attempt, I'm going to let him have a pass on at least just because it was a new glove and it was the very next play. But he also missed a throw the other day on a throw to him where he pulled his head and looked at the base runner running down the line and then he missed the throw. So there's something else where learning to play first base, you got to learn to keep your eye on the ball and not look at the first base runner down the line. I highly expect him not to make that exact mistake again. But yeah, the other 5, I don't remember what happened with him, but I'll put them directly on him. I do remember one of them, actually. He threw home, and it was like 40 feet high, and that's Pedro Alvarez. That's what you're going to get out of Pedro Alvarez. But look, he's been pretty good recently at turning double plays. When a ground ball to him, he can turn the double play pretty well. He's picked the ball pretty well at first base on low throws. And on the high throw, he looks really good too when you have to catch the ball and tag the runner when you come off the base. So remember, it's just, 70 games played this season at first base and 3 last season? So he's, let's say, 73 games into first base. You got to expect some errors out of a guy when he hasn't had that much time there yet. Wouldn't you say 47?
Well, it's definitely cutting into his at-bats also. He only has 219 plate appearances in the 70 games.
Not plate appearances.
Or 219 at-bats, rather, my fault.
Yeah, so now that's another thing. Everybody still wants him to hit 30-some home runs. Now, you can't hit 30-some home runs if you're not playing every day and you're only playing to the 7th inning in days you do play. It's just not going to happen.
But he's being taken out because he is a liability at first base.
Well, then why did you put him at first base in the first place?
Because he's even more of a liability at third base and there was nowhere else to put him.
No, listen, that's going to happen with anybody that plays a position for the first time. You're going to go through look at Polanco in right field. He's still becoming accustomed to right field. That's something that's going to happen. If you knew if you weren't going to sit here and let him play even a half a season at first base before saying you got to get off the position, then you should have never put him there in the first place.
Well, they had nowhere else to put him. They got to pay the guy. They needed some kind of power in their
Listen,
lineup.
he's in arbitration. They don't have to pay him anything.
You still have to pay him money. He's under
No,
contract.
if they don't want to pay the arbitration, they let him go to free agency early. You decide if you want to pay him the arbitration money or not.
Right, and they wanted to try him at first base, and he's had a horrible attitude from what I hear. He doesn't want to do it. The nuances of the game, he moves to his right too many times when the ball's hit, and I know that's instinct from coming over the diamond to the other side, but it's just, to me, from what I hear from the inside, he just doesn't seem to want to even try. He really just doesn't. He's not getting better. Even in practice, he's not showing the signs of being better. It's not just the mistakes he's making in the game. It's just his overall attitude and just his overall play at the position.
I disagree wholeheartedly with that. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I just showed you. I mean, he's been picking the ball great. He turns the double play great. Yeah, he's made a couple errors that he'll have to learn from that can be taught at the first base position. You got to give a guy.
He doesn't even want to learn this. That's what I'm hearing. He doesn't care. He just wants out he wants to go.
Show me where you heard this at. Because
I can't show you where I heard it from because I heard it. I didn't see it, so I can't show you.
There got to be articles or something somewhere about.
No, it was a guy who came on the radio and talked. So there is no article.
And where's this guy from?
He was the Pirates beat writer. The Bint. I don't know what the heck his name is. It starts with a B. I can't pronounce it.
Papiani.
No, that doesn't start with a B. 47.
I don't believe this at all. I think he does want to. Listen, if he doesn't want to be a first baseman, what's he want to do? Does he want to retire?
No, he wants the Pirates to let him go to a different team so he can either DH or play third base.
There's no way in hell. Well, no one's going to give him a chance at third base. And there's no way he wants to be a DH. No one ever wants to be a DH.
Well, we don't want to play first.
I see no reason why he'd say that. That's his best shot to be on the field.
As far as the errors are concerned, I expected this. I mean, what else do you expect with a position change? So
I mean,
but the question is his bat outweighing his defensive liabilities at this point?
Yeah, that's something you got to ask. Now, if you look, he's hitting .242 with a .314 on base, 10 jacks. He has 12 doubles, 34 RBIs, 30 runs, 24 walks, 58 Ks, and 219 at bats, like you were saying. Now, does this warrant the errors on the field? Can you deal with it? That's the question. Now, his power's down a little bit, but you got to understand, if you're not getting as many at bats, you're also not going to hit the 30 home runs that people want you to hit. I mean, the year he hit 36 home runs, he had 558 at bats that season. This season, he's on pace for 473 at bats, so the homers just aren't going to be there. However, you look, he's still second in home runs on the team behind Marte, who has 12. He has 61 less at bats than Marte, and he hits more than a home run every 30 at bats. So he still hits home runs at the quickest pace for any Pittsburgh Pirate. Then you look around the National League. You got Goldschmidt, Rizzo, Votto, Adrian Gonzalez, Ryan Howard, Freeman, and Adam Lynn with more home runs. Now, Pedro has less at bats than all these guys by a good margin too. And let's not forget, Adrian Gonzalez has 13 home runs. 5 of those came in the first couple games of the season. So they're actually on the same kind of same home run pace as well, with Gonzalez having 281 at bats. So they're hitting home runs at the same type of pace. Ryan Howard's pace is a little bit higher than Pedro's, but Ryan Howard's also hitting 229 with a 270 on base. Freeman, they're hitting home runs at about the same pace. The only 3 that aren't are Goldschmidt, Rizzo, and Votto, really. And you got to expect those guys to hit more home runs than him, I'd say. At least Goldschmidt and Rizzo.
Oh, definitely Goldschmidt and Rizzo.
Lucas Duda is tied with him in home runs, and this is a guy that we said had more power than Pedro coming into the season, and he's actually hitting home runs at a lower pace than Pedro. So the power is still there, and let's not forget, he's third on the team with 34 RBIs behind Marte and Kutch. He's fifth on the team in runs scored, so he's still producing. If you get rid of him, if you want to bring in another first baseman, you're going to lose production at the plate.
Listen, his ultimate zone rating, which is measured in terms of his runs his glove has cost the club so far, is awful. It's at a minus 5.6 according to Fangraph. That's twice as bad as any other first baseman in the game.
Yeah, minus 5.6 runs.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And
yeah,
then Baseball Reference says he's been worth 1.2 wins below replacement level on the field. That sunk his WAR to minus .03. Project that out for a full season, and the Bucks are losing between a half and one win by playing Alvarez compared to trotting out your average journeyman first baseman.
And that's defensively.
Yeah.
Yes. So you have to, yeah, that makes sense because he's only played there 73 games. Now, he'll get better as he learns some of these little nuances of the game. And if you take him out of the offense, well, you're not going to get the same type of production from one of those first basemen you're talking about. That's the problem. Like I said, he's still up there in RBIs on the team while he has way less at-bats than the rest of these guys. Look, he's on pace for 473 at-bats this season. He's on pace for the most doubles in his career with 26. That's in 53 less at-bats than the year he actually had his previous high, which was 25 doubles. So although the home runs are down a tiny bit, the doubles are up, so he's still producing. His 242 average and his 314 on-base percentage, where he currently sits, would be his best mark since 2012. He's on pace for the second most runs in his career with 65. Now, he scored 70 runs in 558 at-bats in 2013. So he's on pace to score 5 less runs than his career high, while he's supposed to take 85 less at-bats. He's on pace for 4 more walks than his 2013 breakout season, and that's, like I said, 80-some less at-bats. All his home runs, though, this year, this is the problem. They came with no runners on base, so he got 10 jacks and 135 at-bats, which is a torrid pace, but it's only when people aren't on base.
Well, Alvarez's offense isn't as impressive as you think because Fangraphs has his cumulative offense statistic rated at 0.3 runs above average this season. So he's not providing you that many more runs than just your average run-of-the-mill first baseman.
But 0.3 is better than average, and you're not going to find...
But his glove is costing you that same amount. That's the thing. Like, he is being more productive at the plate than a Sean Rodriguez, but when you average out what he's giving up in the field, you're better off just playing a Sean Rodriguez, even though I think he's garbage too.
That is the dumbest thing I ever heard, because then you lose all that run production. That gives you Marte and Kutch as your only 2 hitters that, I mean, that's the only 2 guys producing more than Pedro Alvarez right now. It's the only 2. If you look, you say, okay, well, he's only hitting home runs without runners on base. Well, guess what? With runners on base, he's hitting 298 with a 396 on base percentage. So although the home runs aren't there, he's hitting around 300 with runners on base, and he's getting on base at a 400 clip. If you got rid of him, if you wanted to upgrade him, you're taking a huge downgrade offensively, and that's what we're arguing about here. We're arguing about the Pirates' offense. We're not arguing about the Pirates letting up too many runs this season.
I'm not arguing about the Pirates' offense. I'm arguing about Pedro being garbage.
No, the problem with the Pirates right now are offense, not pitching.
I understand that, and that's not what I'm trying to say to you. My point is I'm just trying to prove that Pedro is not a good first baseman.
No, he's definitely not a good first baseman.
That's what I've been saying, though. He's played 73 games there. If you weren't going to give him a chance, you should have never put him there in the first place. You should have just cut him because
They are giving him a chance. He's there right now.
Yes, but
how is he not getting a chance?
But you're done with him after you're
I've
already
been done with him before they moved him to first base.
You didn't even want to give him a chance. Now you're done with him after 73 games.
Because I didn't even want him to be there, man. I knew he wasn't going to be able to do it.
But he is able to do it. I just mentioned 5 of those errors that he's going to be able to fix as he gets time at first base. You can't expect a guy that plays less than a half a season at first base to be better than most first basemen in baseball.
If he couldn't hack it on the field at his natural position, I have no reason to believe he's going to be able to get better at a position that's not his natural position.
He's already better at first base than he was at third base, though. That's what you don't understand. Look at his fielding percentage at first base compared to last season at third base. They're not even close. It's like 5% higher.
Because he doesn't have to throw the ball across the diamond anymore.
But that's why you moved him over to
50
first
feet.
base, because then he's not going to have to throw the ball as much. Now, he already made an error where he threw home, and it was high. And that's something you're going to have to deal with Pedro. But he's also thrown the ball to second excellently right now. I've seen him turn multiple double plays in the past few games. I've seen him pick balls in the past few games. I even seen a high throw where he came down and tagged the runner. Everything he's doing is fine. He just has to work on those things like the line drives that were hit to him. He got to learn how to come across the other way instead of across. It's a lot easier to come across your body. But those are things, I don't expect him to ever miss one like that again, because, I mean, that hardly ever happens. It's just, you got to give this guy some time. If you can't just say this guy is not going to be able to stick at first base after 70 games this season. And probably not even 70 games. He played in 70 games. Some of those were as pinch hitters. So he might not even have 70 games played at first base yet in his career. And if you're ready to give up on him then, I mean, you should have just never given him the chance in the first place. And
I don't think they should have. That's just my opinion. That's all.
Well, then, okay, but then you're putting maybe Neil Walker at first base. I don't know what you're going to do, but you're taking run production out of this lineup, whatever way you want to look at it. He's hitting better in every way this season than he did in 2013 outside of those home runs. And he's still producing runs better than anybody on this team outside of Martin Kutch. So if you're going to upgrade him, your offense is only going to get worse this season.
Unless you upgrade him with somebody who has better offense.
Okay, now you're talking Paul Goldschmidt, Anthony Rizzo, Joey Votto, Adrian Gonzalez, Freddie Freeman. That's about it, man. And you're not going to get any of those. We came into the season saying they were all better first basemen than Pedro. They're all elite first basemen. Freeman on the fringe a little bit, maybe. But all those other guys are elite first basemen, and you're just not going to get them. And you should have never expected that out of Pedro in the first place.
I didn't expect anything out of the guy. I didn't even think he was going to make it this far into the year at first.
I expected him to do more with the bat. The glove, I'm not surprised of. I'm not mad about the ball going through the glove, but not catching the ball. Come on, son. You got to do better than that. You got to catch the ball, man. New glove or not, you got to catch the ball. You're a grown man playing Major League Baseball. You got to catch the ball.
Oh, that's what I said. I'm not gonna say it's not his fault, but I'm also gonna give him a little bit of pass on it.
I just can't give him a pass for not catching the ball.
Dude, I've seen you not catch many balls.
I'm not
But
a Major League
47 doesn't
Baseball.
get paid to catch balls. That's the thing. He gets paid to flip burgers and fire people.
All right, well, then, Pedro, you should have never even been at first base.
No, I'm not hating. I'm not hating.
We should have cut him
I'm
after the
hating.
first 5 games at first base. That's the way a team wins, is give a guy 10 games at first base and then say he can't cut it. That makes a lot of sense.
I'm not saying he can't cut it. I didn't say it. Not once did those words come out of my mouth. I expected the growing pains. I'm not mad. I'm not surprised. But what are you going to do? But if you're waiting for his bat to come around, it's going to have to come around because,
This is it. This is his bat.
What are you how many home runs are you expecting out of a guy that's going to not get
But see,
even 500 at bats?
I understand that. I understand that the home run numbers are going to be down because he's not getting the at-bats. But my point is he's not getting the at-bats because he's not good enough in the field to stay in the game late. So he's a liability. So it's his fault that he's not getting the at-bats. So the home run rate is still the same. Yes, I understand that.
It's a
but
little
the
lower.
overall numbers are going to be down because he can't keep himself on the field because he becomes a defensive liability, especially in a close game late.
Well, see,
But the point is, 1 second, 47. You have to give him more time, man. He's going to get better at first base.
But he's not going to get better in those situations if the Pirates never play him in those situations. And they obviously don't have the confidence to play him in those situations.
But that's the catch-22. You have to play him in these situations to get better.
And they're not doing it because they don't have faith in him.
Okay, but look, man, he's not playing from the 7th inning on. He's not playing every day, but he's still third on his team in RBIs. If you decide he can't play first base, then you're going to take a downgrade no matter what, when you can upgrade just by letting him play more and get more accustomed to first base.
I'm not saying the only reason he's third on the team in RBIs is because he has a decent amount of RBIs, but outside of Marte or Kutch, nobody on the team is hitting that well to have any more RBIs.
Well, that's the thing.
So it's kind of like you just are the best of a bad bunch at the moment. They may pick it up and get their offense moving
They're not
in gear,
that
but
bad, though.
Well,
I mean, it's
let
not
me
like
a-
they're
let me
bad.
a- let me ask
wasn't
you
it
something.
you that said
okay?
somebody told me today that Walker hasn't hit a home run or an RBI in like freaking month or something?
Yeah, Neil Walker's
he
been
hasn't
bad.
had
That
more.
doesn't mean the team has
But
been
listen,
bad.
though, how many home runs do you think the right side of our infield have this last month? Just take a wild stab at
listen,
it.
Pedro has 1 home run in his last 29 games. He's on a down stretch right now, so you also know he can turn it around and hit 5 home runs in a 10-game
But when's
stretch.
he gonna do it? He hasn't done it, and they right now. And I'm not hating.
You can say he hasn't done it, but going into June 6th, he was on pace for 30 home runs while he wasn't even on pace for 500 at bats. So he was doing it. He's just on a down stretch. Only in the power department right now, though. He's still hitting the ball. He still has a higher average than he's showed outside of his rookie year at 242. His on base is higher. He's still hitting the ball.
All I'm saying is that their offense has been terrible, and it'd just be nice to see him pick up the slack.
Listen, his power has been a part of why they haven't been hitting very well, but he's not
No, he's not the focal point.
No, he's definitely not.
I mean, I'm not gonna. Well, I'm gonna say he's kind of one of them, but not really. But,
you
gotta point more at Neil Walker on that one, and you look at
Polanco
Jordan,
as well.
Polanco. Yeah, well, I was gonna say Polanco and Mercer. I mean, they don't even have 20 RBIs.
Well, Mercer's been hot recently. He's
Mercer
hitting
has
over
been hitting
300
better.
this past month, actually. But I mean, if you look, Pedro, he was on a 5-game hitting streak until they sat him against the lefty, and he got a pinch hit late in the game. But he was driving in runs. Look, he had 4 RBIs in his previous 2 starts. He's one of the main reasons they're actually turning it around right now, is because he's driving in a couple runners.
Well,
Look, they won 3-2. He drove in 2 runs. You want to take that out of the lineup and put a guy like Sean Rodriguez every day in.
But the other games that they lost 3-2 were because he made errors and cost them those runs. So the wins end up averaging themselves out.
I would like you to find out if that is really true.
Well,
though,
I'll look
because-
it up for next week.
Yeah, we need to actually look up the games where he made the errors, runs that actually scored because of it, and what the score of that game was. Because I can recount maybe 1 or 2 times that it actually did cost them, where other times he made an error, and sometimes the run didn't even score, and other times it did, but they won the game anyways. And his bat is a part of that. I mean, I understand his power's down, but his gap power's up. He's on pace for more doubles than he's ever hit in way less at bats.
well, see, here's the thing, though. You still didn't answer my question.
Okay, what was your question?
How many home runs do you think the right side of our infield has
This past
this
month.
past month?
1?
2.
2.
Neil Walker has 1, and then Pedro has the other.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds about right. But I blame it more on Walker. He's not showing the power this season, but he's also not shown much else either. Whereas at least Pedro has been driving in runs in other ways.
Well, I mean, usually I'll take in run production over home runs, definitely, without a question. I mean, as long as your RBI totals are up there, I mean, that's fine.
What's he on pace for? 73 RBIs. Now, you got to expect somewhere around 90 to 100 from him when he gets 560, 570 at bats. Now, this is 100 less at bats, so it's going to be down around 75, 85 by season's end.
Well, that's one of the things too. Is I don't like sitting Polanco and I don't like sitting Alvarez.
I definitely don't
I
like
would
sitting
rather let them
Polanco.
hit, and I'll tell you why. I mean, it just
Well, listen, I don't like sitting Polanco at all. I want to see that guy play every day versus lefties and righties, or else he's never going to learn to hit lefties. And then Alvarez, I understand, he has trouble against lefties, and we let him have his chances against lefties. But the one thing I'm not doing is taking him out towards the end of a game when they bring in a lefty to pitch against him. I'm letting him battle through that at bat, and if he strikes out, maybe he'll see a righty later in the game then. You know what I mean? They always take him out, and you're taking out your best run production. I trust him enough at first to get better where I'm not taking out his run production out of the lineup, man.
well, he does have the power. So
Listen, you're right, though, Jim. He hasn't been good at first base at all this season. Although, a lot of those errors you can accept. Some of them you can't. But, like I said, you got to give this guy a longer leash than less than a half a season at the position when he hasn't played there his entire career, minors or majors.
Well, I still think he's garbage. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, well, you think the entire Pirates team is garbage every year, so that's fine.
Well, I'd still like to think that they're going to get hot in the second half of the season.
I mean, we say this. We expect so much out of this Pirate team that they're sitting there with the second best record in the National League, and we're sitting here, I hope they get hot in the second half. You know, I mean,
I'm talking about their bats, not their overall team play.
Well, listen, like I
the
said,
pitching's been good.
They were a top 5 team in runs scored through 5-6 games through this month. So it's not like they weren't showing it earlier this season either. They actually were, but they are cold right now, and it would be nice to see Pedro to start hitting some more home runs. But I'm not taking him out of the lineup because he's still doing it in other ways, and he's shown to be a better, more complete hitter. Like, you remember when he got cold in the past, he wasn't 2 for 5 with a double driving in 2 runs. He wasn't 2 for 4 with a double, a run scored driving in 2 runs. He didn't used to do this. It was home run or strikeout from him. His strikeout numbers are way down now, like way down. You can ask yourself, do you want him to strike out more and have more power? That maybe he...
Like I said, it comes down to run production. If he's driving in runs and he's scoring runs, then okay, I'm all about it.
Well, like I said, he's on pace. He's scoring more runs per bat than he ever has. So the runs are there. The RBIs, they're down a little bit, like I said, because the at-bats are down and the home runs are down a little bit. But, I mean, 73 RBIs. Let's say he ends with that. Well, that's going to be top 3 on your team. So if you're going to take him out of your lineup, that's some run production you're going to get rid of.
I never did like him sitting Polanco and Alvarez, as I said earlier. I think it's stupid. I don't like the fact that we change our lineup every frickin' 2 games.
I'm with you. I'm getting a little sick of her. Like we said, Polanco's been struggling. He was on a 10-game hit streak. Hurdle decided to sit him and then pinch hit him later in the game. He went 0 for 1, ruined his 10-game hit streak, and then he hasn't been hitting since. I'm not saying Polanco would have went off on a tear if he wouldn't have sat that game, but when players are hot, don't sit them, please. Just let him play.
Even if it is against a lefty, just let him play.
Like
maybe he'll work it out if he's hot. He has more confidence. You know?
Look, right now, starting on the 23rd, Pedro went 1 for 3, 1 for 4, 1 for 3, 2 for 5, 2 for 4, and then you sit him and he goes 0 for 1. Now, if he comes out cold the next game, why'd you sit him? You know, keep playing him. He's hot. Let him play.
You will pay. I can lay things out of bay and make things out of clay.
Listen, I wanted this to be a short segment, but it just ain't happening. I understand, Jim. You're upset with his defense. You don't think he can hack it, but you got to give him more time. If you thought you were going to have a decision through 70 games, then you just didn't have realistic expectations to begin with.
Well, he only has a 1 rating in batting, which is his park adjusted runs above average. So he's only getting you 1 more run.
It's 1.0. Actually, that's pretty good, though, man. If you look around, I mean, it's not Goldschmidt Rizzo good, but if you look around the league, I mean, anything above 0 is acceptable.
He's never been a good fielder, man. He's had 2 good seasons on the field, but he has a minus 35.2.
Yeah, he's never been a great fielder, but he actually
terrible,
if you
man.
remember 47, he made some amazing plays at third base throughout the year.
Oh yeah, in 2013 it was only a minus 0.3, and in 2011 it was only a minus 1.9, but it's been a minus every year of his career. So he's had a spatter here. Last year it was minus 14.2.
There's no arguing. I've never argued that he's a Gold Glover, man. I'm not saying that at all. And I said that coming into the season. You got to expect troubles out of him, and you can't expect him ever to be a Gold Glove type third baseman, first baseman, anything. But, I mean,
he's a minus 1 this year for runs above replacement, which is batting plus fielding plus base running plus replacement plus positional. He's a minus 1. And he's a minus 0.1 WAR. These are all weird baseball geeky stats that people made up in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't look into all that stuff too much. I do look at WAR somewhat, but I just look, I use, stats are stats and they don't lie in baseball. That's all there is to it. And this guy, he is still hitting home runs around the best rate with the rest of these first basemen outside of Goldschmidt. I mean, he's hitting 1 home run every 20 at-bats. That's what Adrian Gonzalez is doing. In fact, Adrian Gonzalez is actually worse than that. Freeman is worse than that. I mean, he's just not getting the same amount of at-bats, and it is because of his defense. You're right, but you also got to give him more time at first base, and a lot of those errors are errors because he is not used to the position. At least
played
half of
69 games at first base.
69 games, and that if you think you can decide someone's career at a position through 69 games, I think.
No, I'm just going by his overall garbageness in the field for his whole life.
I mean, he wasn't ever great, but he was decent at third base some seasons before last season. He makes plays that other players can't, but he's not able to do things that every other player can.
In 2013 was the only time he had a positive fielding and positional adjustment above average.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's why you moved him over to first base, though. I mean, that was the whole point. You want to hide his deficiencies on defense, and it is doing it somewhat. And you got to remember, he's only going to get better at first base. He's not going to get worse because the throwing isn't there. That was his serious problem, was the throwing, and that's not there.
As long as he catches the ball, whatever.
Well, that wraps up our 32-minute, 8-minute segment. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for coming in studio. Fans, you can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You can follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the website at thespreadnews.simplesite.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel.